Good afternoon, everybody in the Midwest and East Coast. Good morning if you are still on the West Coast. We are covering the Los Angeles Chargers season preview of their 2022 NFL season. If you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you have come to the right place. Prime Sports World go live every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content. We are right in the middle of our NFL season preview series. This is team number 17, I think. So we have the AFC West to get through, and then the NFC North, and the AFC North, and then the NFC West as well. I'm, of course, David on Point. I'm going to share the StreamYard link into the chat. So if you wanted to join us and talk some football, please feel free to do so. Today is the Los Angeles Chargers show, and I am joined by CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera. What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
What's going on, guys? Doing good things, doing big things, talking about these Los Angeles Chargers here, the other Los Angeles team. So looking forward to big things from these guys coming up this season. So
that's for damn sure. What are your initial reaction to the Chargers before we get into the individual storylines?
They should be. I got playoff expectations for them. That's for sure. I don't want to know. I don't want to say Super Bowl expectations. I don't know if those are the kind of expectations you want to put on them. You can put those on them, but I definitely have playoff expectations for them. They were, if I'm not mistaken, one kind of coaching mistake last year.
A couple coaching mistakes here and there. It cost them a couple games that they could have easily have won. They have their Houston Texans lost away from being a playoff team as well. This is the Los Angeles Chargers team that I have high expectations for. I expect this team to be in the thick of it. When we talked about the Super Bowl contenders in the NFL, I expect the Chargers to be one of those teams we're talking about when we get towards the end of the season, because I think they got everything to be competitive.
See about Super Bowl. We'll see about Super Bowl. Everything kind of lines up for them to be great on offense. Defensively, I think we touched on it a little bit. There's some question marks there. They added some big additions. We'll get to that, but all in all, they're a playoff team. My expectations are a playoff team. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a failure.
I agree with you 100% on that. Let's get into the storylines. First of all, year 2 under Brandon Staley. What do we expect out of year 2 under Brandon Staley? Couple coaching decisions that kind of cost his team, couple games here and there. That going for it a billion times on fourth down to trying to beat the Kansas City Chiefs comes to mind, where the Chiefs came back and won that game. The calling of the timeout in the last game in overtime when it seemed like the Raiders were going to run the clock out,
and they both would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, they both would have made the playoffs in that scenario. Brandon Staley, he just had some rookie coaching mistakes that kind of cost him games. I like the aggression out of him as a head coach, but I think you got to pick those spots a little bit better to when to be aggressive, when not to be. What are we expecting on Brandon Staley from your term too?
Like I said, I'm expecting playoff expectations. We have playoff expectations. You have, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert. You have one of the best running backs. You have one of the best, wide receiver, groups in the NFL. A solid offensive line. You have a defense that could possibly be a top 12, top 10 defense if they all click and remain healthy. We talked about it yesterday a little bit. So, I expect Brandon Staley to take another step, get this team into the playoffs. This is why they hired you, right?
Coming from that Rams coaching system, Super Bowl expectations, supposed to be a guru. I just think he's going to be a little more conservative this season. I don't think he's going to go for it as often on fourth down. I think they're going to rein him in just a little bit.
That's the analytics part, right? Where most teams are going for it on 4th and 2, sometimes at the 50. And it's it's the analytics part, right? If I go for it on 4th and 2 and I get this and I extend the drive, or I have a higher expectation rate of scoring 3 points or even more, a touchdown, if I convert this 4th down here. So I think it's the analytics part that the NFL is kind of moving forward to. But football is a old school game still, right? You have to kind of play by the rules in a way, right?
And as TJ always kind of talks about this whenever we talk about this particular topic, like you win games scoring touchdowns, you don't win games kicking field goals.
Yeah, no, unless you have a real stingy defense,
yeah,
that can hold that other team's opponent to not getting past the 50. Those old time Bears teams in the early 2000s used to do.
When you got the no fly zone, any of those. I mean, this is a bottom 10 defense that they had on this roster last season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not bottom. Yeah, bottom 10. They were 20th
and
exactly.
They were missing.
Derwin James didn't play much last season. Joey Bosa was in and out of the lineup. So yeah, they were for sure missing some pieces.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I expected them to be a little more conservative this season. I think they look for them to rein him in just a little bit, not make as many gambles on as coach decisions. Let's talk about Herbert. It says up there, where do you rank him when it comes to the quarterbacks in the National Football League? Where does he rank among? I'm not even talking about in his own division right now, because I think he's probably the second best quarterback in his own division. But where does he rank in the NFL? I mean, how many other guys would you rather have over Justin Herbert right now?
Well, obviously, there's two guys that I would pick over Justin Herbert right now. I'd pick Josh Allen. I'd pick, Pat Mahomes. But he's coming. He's knocking. I'd pick the two old wildly veterans in Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady right now over Justin Herbert. Mm-hmm. Just because of experience. All four of those guys are just because of experience.
Joe Burrow.
I'm gonna put him in the top 5.
Joe Burrow? Would you rather have Joe Burrow right now or Justin Herbert?
I'd rather have Justin Herbert.
I think I agree with you, but it's real. That's
close.
I think that's where the line is, right? I'd rather have him than Russell Wilson.
I don't know. Have Justin Herbert. He's younger, can throw the better deep ball.
Lamar Jackson.
Like I said, he's younger. He's a better passer, and Justin Herbert's athletic too. Don't get it twisted. Yeah. Justin Herbert's got some wheels on him. I mean, he doesn't utilize. They don't utilize it in the offense. But I mean, Lamar Jackson, his dynamic for that reason alone is that he can extend plays. He can kill you on the ground. They can utilize him in the running game a little bit more. But Justin Herbert, I mean, as a passer, I mean, he's top 5 in the game, in my opinion. Top 6, top 7, possibly. I mean,
Stafford.
Stafford that we mentioned. Other than those 4 or 5 guys that we mentioned, I mean, you can put. I mean, Kyler Murray. I mean, I'm not picking Kyler Murray over Justin Herbert. No. Am I picking Derek Carr over Justin Herbert? No.
No way. Dak Prescott.
No, I'm not picking Dak. I love Dak Prescott too. I love Dak Prescott. That's what I'm saying. Like Justin Herbert has top 5, top 6, possibly. I mean, that's another guy that you could probably put ahead of him, depending on because Dak can get it through the air. He can get it done through the air as well. That's another guy. But he's a top 7 quarterback. Nothing below top 7.
Yeah, I think the only guy I would for sure take over him would be, as you mentioned, Tom Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Those 4 guys for sure. Those are the only
4 quarterbacks that I could think and come to name that come to mind that I would pick over Justin Herbert.
And then I think there's a second tier. Like it's got Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. I think Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. Those 4 guys they're on the same tier as well. I think no worse than 8 to 5 is how Justin Herbert probably ranks in the NFL right now. And he's only getting better. Like he's going to make better decisions with the football. He's going to make better reads with the football. The sky is absolutely the limit for this guy.
I agree. And then when you got big guys to throw to,
Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Joshua Palmer. I mean, they got Gerald Everett as their tight end now. Like, yeah,
that's a big addition right there. I love me for Gerald Everett.
Me too. I think he's gonna have some serious fantasy value if you
play
fantasy.
As a sleeper, for sure. But yeah, no, he has, and then you have like you mentioned Austin Eckler as well to throw. I mean, I brought him up yesterday, man. He's a nightmare for linebackers in space. I mean, he's so twitchy, and I mean he's small, but he's probably one of, even though he's small, he packs a punch. He's probably one of the
pound for pound. He is the. I think this is pound for pound. I think they say he's the strongest pound for pound player in the NFL right now.
In terms of like lift, like in terms of actual strength.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's real for being that small. That guy is strong as all hell, and he's fast. He's real quick, twitchy in open space. He's a mismatch for most outside linebackers and middle linebackers in the league. So yeah, Justin Herbert has a bevy of options to go to this season, and I think with his talent alone, I mean he's a top 7 quarterback, no doubt.
100% agree with you on that. Let's move into the fourth storyline there. Third storyline, Chargers. So last season, 4th on offense in terms of yards gained per season. They were 20th on defense as opposed to yards allowed. Do you think there's a potential here that they could be a top 5 offense and defensive unit next season?
Top 5 offense, yes. Top 5 defense, question mark. Question mark. Just because I know, and we'll get to it. I know they added J.C. Jackson. Yep. Derwin James was banked. I mean, Derwin James missed all of last season, so pretty much we're looking to see how he is going to be this season. Asante Samuel Jr. Let's see what kind of step he takes this season. I know they added Khalil Mack. Like I said, God, we're getting to the free agents already, but it's hard not to talk about it, right? We're talking about this topic.
I mean, when we're talking about the top 5 defense, their additions is a big reason why I think they could be a top 5.
Yeah,
defense.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they're a lock for a top 5 offense. I don't think that's even really a debate.
Top 5 defense, yeah, they got to show me a little bit early in the season. I mean, that's the little bit of their Achilles heel. They can get in these track meets a little bit, and I think. With Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, that is, I mean, if Khalil Mack is any inkling of what he was 3 years ago, watch out because you can't double him and double Joey Bosa. One of those guys is gonna have to be, they're gonna have a single, tackle on them. So. They're both going to have double-digit sacks, in my opinion.
And on the other side, I mean, Jared Tillery is coming off his best season as a pro, 4.5 sacks season. So, like, their offensive line is going to be their defensive line should be able to generate some pass rush, like with Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. I mean, Jared Tillery. Like, this is going to be a pretty potent front four. And then their secondary. I mean, it's like. Outside of Nazir Adderley, I don't know a whole lot about him at free safety, but like Asante Samuel Jr. was real good as a rookie. J.C. Jackson was their big free agent signing. If Derwin James could stay healthy, that back end secondary is pretty solid.
Yeah,
Bryce Callahan playing the nickel. Yeah, they signed Kyle Van Noy too to generate another guy that could be an edge rusher off the edge.
That's a big one too. I was gonna get to that as well. Kyle Van Noy, man. I mean, he's one of the better linebackers. One of the better outside linebacker, edge rushers in the league. So, I mean, you added a lot of pieces here on your defense to not be. I'm just looking at their depth chart right now. When I look at their inside linebackers, you have godly
like Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray is probably going to be one of their inside linebackers.
Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, he was a first round pick 3 years ago. He hasn't really.
That would probably be my only, because losing Kazir White, I mentioned him yesterday.
Yeah.
Losing Kazir White is big in a way in the inside linebacker slot there. I mean, he did have 144 tackles last season. So he was a big part. He was a very underrated linebacker for them. So we'll have to see. But other than that, I mean, everybody's healthy. They could be a top 10 defense. I mean, we saw it. With Anthony Lynn 2-3 years ago. Their defense. They have kind of similar components, and their defense was pretty solid a couple years ago when they actually did make the playoffs. So, and that was before they had Justin Herbert. So
yeah, it was the final season under Phillip Rivers. But yeah,
with Phillip Rivers. Yeah. So
yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's potential here that they could have a top 5 defense on offense this season. So I guess we'll see how it all shakes out when it all said and done. What do you guys, in the comments section, let us know. You think Chargers top 5 offense and defense this season? What you guys think? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Offense for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go thumbs up. I actually think they're gonna have a top 5 offense and defense. I mean, this Chargers team might be like the second best team in the AFC right now.
Give or take, yeah.
So, moving on to the draft, took Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College in the first round, 17. JT Woods, safety out of Baylor. Isaiah Spiller, running back, Texas A&M. I think that's CJ Spiller's brother.
Yeah, I believe so.
He gives
them
a nice
good lineage there.
Yeah, he gives him a nice change of pace back, outside of the Austin Eckler. I'm not sure how to pronounce that defensive tackle's name from UCLA, so I'm not going to try. And then Saylor, guard out of Georgia, another offensive lineman. Taylor, cornerback out of Wake Forest. Deion Leonard, then defensive back, Ole Miss. And Xander Hood, the fullback out of Purdue. For some reason, they drafted
that fullback. That 7th round pick, that guy's going to start right away this season, or probably be a special teamer. The way I look at the draft, I like that kid. Zion Johnson out of Boston College. I mean, yeah, I don't know who was still there at O-line, but I mean, you're looking for depth, so you're looking for depth in the interior line position because you already kind of had you had the kid from Northwestern already last year.
Yeah, Rashawn Slater.
Rashawn Slater, who was really good. You got Trey Pipkins. Corey Linsley, you signed him last year, signed him last year from Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so I mean, they're
Matt Fielder is a pretty good left guard. I mean, Storm Norton, his right tackle is kind of the big question mark. Storm Norton is going to be the guy.
The right tackle is the question mark. But at right guard, Zion Johnson was really solid in college, at Boston College. I like the kid out of Baylor, JT Woods. Gives them some depth at safety, just because you don't know how Derwin James is going to be, this year. And I mean, that kid might get some tick this year. I mean, we don't know. I know Nazir Adderley's a bit of a question mark in a way, right? I mean,
100%.
Yeah. So JT Woods kind of gives them some depth at free safety there.
6'2", 193 pounds. I mean, he's built to be a prototypical safety in the National Football League round 3.
Yeah, big guy, heavy hitter. And then I mean, you get a guard out of Georgia. Late in the 6th round. Added depth to that offensive line. The kid out of UCLA, round 5. Man, I watched a lot of UCLA late night. See, that's the thing about UCLA, those Pac-12 games, man. You got to stay up to watch these games.
6'4", 324 pounds tackle out of UCLA.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. But, my thing about UCLA is, they were getting torched. They weren't getting a lot of pressure last year. So, we'll see. He's a run stopper. He's not, a guy like who we mentioned in the interior line who had four sacks.
Jared Tillery,
yeah. So, So
5.3 in his 40-yard dash, which isn't terrible at a guy that big.
That's just added depth to the interior line. So, anyways, out of this draft, and then Isaiah Spiller, running back. You had a decent running back, because Josh Jackson, in a way, has like fumbling issues in a way. And
he's not even on this roster anymore. I think he may.
I'm looking at is he? I don't know why they have him on this depth chart then.
Josh
Kelly. I got my names wrong. Josh Kelly. I mean, because I'm looking like Josh Jackson. So Josh Kelly has some fumbling issues, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he has some ball carrying issues. So I think Isaiah Spiller might be, him and he'll be fighting with some reps for, with him and Josh Kelly, for like the change of pace role. So, out of all in all, I give it a B. This draft class.
Yeah, they had some definite needs: a backup running back, defensive line, offensive guard, offensive line, and cornerback depth. Like, they basically touched on everything they needed to do. The kid from Ole Miss is a 6 foot, 195 pounds. Can play corner or defense or safety. And their fullback 6'3", 230 pounds. He carried the ball 91 times, 355 yards, and 3 touchdowns at Purdue. I don't know.
He's remember Lorenzo Neal?
Yeah,
he was like a 15-time Pro Bowler fullback. That's what they're probably hoping out of this kid, but nobody runs the football like that no more. So, well, they do, but I mean, this offense ain't gonna be utilizing the fullback like they used to back when Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees were behind center. So but yeah, this kid fills the role immediately. I mean, I think he's probably their only fullback on their depth chart. Oh no, they have this guy Gabe Neighbors, but I think this guy Xander Norvap is probably going to be a guy to catch some passes out of the goal line, something like that. Nobody utilizes fullback no more.
Let's jump into the free agency. So major additions, obviously, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Sebastian Joseph, Gerald Everett, Bryce Callahan, took him from the Denver Broncos. Key departures, Kaiser White, Justin Jones, and Yusini Nwuzie. The Wuzu? I don't know, but he signed a 3-year deal to go somewhere else. What do we think about what they did with their roster shakeup over free agency?
Well, golly, man, you had Khalil Mack, man, that's big time, right? And you had J.C. Jackson, that's big time too.
They arguably got the best free agent available this offseason with J.C. Jackson. Like the fact that he even left New England is shocking to me.
Yeah. I mean, let me start with those two guys. If Khalil Mack returns to form, I know last year he was banged up, and there was just some other factors. I mean, in Chicago, he had other guys that were banged up. Keem Hicks, Robert Quinn wasn't truly Robert Quinn. Really, that didn't pan out.
He did break a Bears record in sacks last season, but yeah,
last season,
Khalil Mack didn't play that season at all.
Yeah. So, but like I said, man, the Bears the last 2 seasons with Khalil Mack was kind of mediocre in a way. So we're hoping for Khalil Mack to return to form as he was, 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So, we're hoping for that. Him and Bosa will be a potent tandem. There you can't really double team either or because they could both kill you. On the island with any tackle in the league. J.C. Jackson, what can I say, man? One of the best corners in the league, man.
Yeah.
You're adding one of the young up and coming probably best corners in the league, a top 7 corner in the league, top 5 corner in the league. I mean, when you mentioned J.C. Jackson, you mentioned him, along the lines with Jalen Ramsey and Jair Alexander and some of these other the kids on the Ravens, the 2 guys from Miami. I mean, you mentioned them in those names. He's probably better than some of those guys, right?
Yeah, he probably is. I mean, I would probably take him over. I don't know about Marlon Humphrey. I think I'd probably take Marlon Humphrey over him, but he's in the top 10 for sure. I mean,
top 10 for sure.
And you were able to stag him from your division conference foe. Like that's a huge win.
Yeah, and Gerald Everett, that's a super underrated signing right there.
Totally agree with you on that. I mean, you lose what's his name? Jared Cook. You lose Jared Cook, and you basically replace him with a younger, more athletic version of himself. Good job. That's some good stuff right there. Gerald Everett was pretty good in Seattle. He was really good for the Rams before he left in free agency. So yeah, good for them. Gerald Everett's going to be a good guy, and they got him pretty cheap.
Yeah, and then you getting Sebastian Joseph Day from the Rams. It's a nice signing too. Bolsters your interior defensive line, and then Bryce Callahan's another nice signing. I mean, overall, man, this is a pretty good free agency class for them. I would have to give them an A. Yeah, I give them an A. I can't lie. I gotta give them an A. Just because they covered everything, even in the draft, they covered everything that they needed. Cornerback, linemen,
offensive line,
defense, interior linemen, offensive linemen, depth. They covered it all. DB help, DB depth. They covered it all in free agency too.
The only thing you're really missing is linebacker depth. But I mean, I think
losing Kazir White, like I said, the other guys, whatever. Losing Kazir White is going to be, that's going to hurt him a little bit. Like I said, I mean, you just can't replace 144 tackles overnight. You can't replace that kind of production. So, they're gonna see what they have inside linebacker. But other than that, I mean, this is a great free agency class for them.
I would say the Chargers probably, if arguably, had the best offseason of any team in the NFL.
Yeah, you can make that argument. Yeah, you can make that argument that they had the best.
I mean, they also re-signed Mike Williams. I mean, they all the stuff that they did here. I mean, they re-signed Chase Daniels. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Troy Reader's on this team now.
We say this. We brought up Chase Daniel yesterday. Chase Daniel's the best backup in the league. If Justin Herbert goes down for a week or two, you can put in Chase Daniel and he can win you a football game or two.
Yep.
That's why you pay Chase Daniel the big backup bucks, right? Because he can go out there and actually win you a football game or two when your starting quarterback goes down. And then when I look at, like I said, man, golly, man. It doesn't get much better than Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, man.
No, honestly, I mean, sure. And Joshua Palmer is as a third guy. I think that's pretty solid. And they also re-signed Justin Hopkins. He basically came in and stabilized that kicking situation. You remember a few years ago they were losing games like all the time based on just a kick here and there. Justin Hopkins stabilizes that position.
Well, you see this now more and more in the league where teams are making that an emphasis now. Special teams.
Kick games are won and lost on kicks, and so you have a kicker
position. Position. I mean, if you can get a great punter who can coffin corner, punt the hell out of a football, or can get that spin on the ball to where he can pin you in within 10 yards, on your own side. You were seeing a lot of teams. I mean, teams were picking punters in the draft in the first 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think four punters winning this year's draft. More punters than ever been drafted in draft history.
That's insane. And so teams are, you're starting to see more teams saying, hey, if we have a great punter that can pin their team, down deep into their, end zone, on their side of the field. This is a field position game, and to be a championship team, you have to win all 3 phases of the game.
As the Packers found out the hard way.
Oh my God! No, for real. No,
we found out the Bears found out too the hard way. Cody Parkey double doink. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, no. You're right. Teams. You see teams like that have the first 2, and then special teams they just lack, So the Chargers are looking at every team in the NFL is looking to be get that next great punter and the next good kicker, consistent kicker that can. And the kicker doesn't have to make 50, 60-yard field goals all the time. You're not Justin Tucker or or for a long time before Greg DeLeg got a little older and started missing kicks. He is draining 60 yards, Matt Prater. But you just need a kicker within that 45, within that like 42 to 48 range that can kick balls in the wind at odd angles and that can make them consistently
in Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Like that's what you need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Moving on from there, let's jump into their schedule. Unlike the team that we covered yesterday, the Denver Broncos, the Chargers actually have 2 divisional round games coming out right off the bat, right off their schedule. So they come in hot. They first game of the season, Las Vegas comes there to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Do you think the Raiders start off the season with a W, or do the Chargers get off to the season on kind of a hot start, winning the first game of the year?
Oh, first, I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna have them beating the Vegas Raiders, and losing to Kansas City. So I have them starting out the season 1-1. I'm still trying to figure out if one of those 2 teams I think they're gonna sweep. Obviously it's gonna be Vegas. So I think they're gonna sweep Vegas this year, but they'll split with Kansas City. So
I agree with you on that. I actually think they sweep Denver too. I think they split with Kansas City. I think Kansas City, they win the home and home. If Kansas City win the game at home at Arrowhead early in the season, that'll be a tough place to play. And then I think that they beat the Raiders at SoFi. Like I think that happens. The next 2 games are both against AFC South opponents. They go Jacksonville comes to SoFi, and then they go to Houston at Allegiant Stadium there in Houston, Texas. Do they win both of those games in the AFC South on this little mini AFC South trip?
No, they don't lose neither one of those games. They're probably sitting Justin Herbert out midway through the fourth
I agree with you on that, actually. Chase Daniels is going to get some serious reps in both of those games. I'll have the Chargers win both those games.
Even though, like I said, Jacksonville more or less. But Houston, I know they suck defensively, but Davis Mills, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. Davis Mills is going to put up numbers in Houston. He's going to put up numbers in Houston. In my opinion,
you should be Davis. You should be Davis Mills' agent, man.
I should. I mean, I love Davis. I'm really expecting big things out of Davis Mills and Jalen Hurts this year. I'm sorry.
Then the next week they go to Cleveland. That situation in Cleveland has not been resolved, so we don't really know exactly what the situation is going to be when it comes to the quarterback situation in Cleveland. Does it matter if Deshaun Watson is even the starter here in Cleveland? I do not think he will be. I think it will be Jacoby Brissett.
He won't be. Yeah, it'll be Jacoby Brissett. I mean, Cleveland's very talented. Don't get me wrong; they're very talented. But I think the Chargers are even more talented. So give me the Chargers, even if Deshaun Watson plays.
I think if Deshaun Watson plays, I think it'll be more interesting at least. But I do not expect him to play this season, or at least not in the first 8 games of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, either the first 8 games or the season. I'm thinking the whole season, but I got them beating Cleveland here.
Same here. Then Denver and Seattle both come into SoFi Stadium before their bye week. They have 2 games at home. Do they win both of these games against Denver and Seattle?
Yes. So yesterday I had them splitting with Denver, so I'm going to go by that. And I got them beating Seattle. Seattle's going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year.
Yep, agree with you. And, they've already seen Drew Lock. They know what he's capable of or not capable of in this case. And I just think they're more talented than Denver, especially when it comes to, like, the trenches, like the offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah.
And then Seattle stinks. After their bye week, they go – yeah, please. So don't even talk to me about Alex Collins. I'm for real. The next week they go. So after the bye week, they have 2 games on the road. They go to Atlanta and then they go to San Francisco. How do they fare on this little mini road trip to Atlanta and then San Francisco, kind of crisscrossing the country?
They beat Atlanta. Oh man, we said this yesterday. We don't know. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback. Jesus Christ, man, this is a hard one. Whew. I'm going to actually have them losing to San Francisco, but it's going to be a close one, though. It'll be a close one for me. So I'll have them losing to San Francisco, but it'll be close, though. It'll be close.
I'm actually gonna have them win both these games. I think they easily they trounce Atlanta. I think they're just wildly better than Atlanta, especially now with the quarterback situation being kind of murky at best there in Atlanta with Marcus Mariota
and Desmond Ridder. Yeah.
So when it comes to San Francisco situation, like I don't really know what to make of San Francisco until I see what they're gonna look like. Whatever that quarterback situation is going to be. And until I see it, I'm kind of down on them a little bit. I'm not totally all in on Trey Lance. I think they probably have a better chance to win this season if they ran with Jimmy Garoppolo for the entire year, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. I think the Chargers have a better team than San Francisco.
Debo, the one guy that always is, scares me is Debo Samuel.
He's unhappy. He wants a new contract. He hasn't practiced or played for them. So,
the whole 9 yards. And he hasn't really been the mold of consistent health either. Yeah. So we don't know what his health is going to be midway through the season.
He had more receiving yards last season than he did his entire career up to that point.
But like I said, I know they're going back west. It doesn't it's kind of like, in a way, it's not a home game, but they're still playing California. The Chargers fans don't really travel well, anyways.
They barely even fill that stadium.
They make it to SoFi Stadium. So give me San Francisco in a close one, though, a real close one.
I'm going to take the Chargers also in a close one, but I think the Chargers come out of that.
This is the Bosa game. That's the Bosa game, though. The Bosa game. The brothers, man.
Next week, Kansas City comes into SoFi Stadium. Mahomes, Herbert, who in the rematch of this season, who do you think comes out on top? This game's in Los Angeles. I'm going to take the Chargers.
I'm taking the Chargers. Yeah, I think they split with Kansas City, home and home here. So I'm taking the Chargers, yeah.
Their next two games are on the road. They're both kind of in the desert. The first game, they go to Arizona in the Big Toaster, and then they go to Las Vegas in the Death Star. Do they leave this road trip with 2 victories, or do they split, or do you see them getting swept?
I see them winning both of those games. They're gonna sweep Vegas this year. 2 close games. I think Brandon Staley is gonna learn his lesson a little bit here. I think they just want their revenge on Vegas. I think they're gonna have Vegas's number, even though Vegas. I mean, we'll get to them as well. They've added a lot. They're talented, but I think they get swept here against the Chargers, and then the Arizona Cardinals. I think they lose as well to the Chargers as well here. So 2 wins, 2-game win, 3-game win streak for me for them.
So Arizona should have their cool complement of weapons there for DeAndre Hopkins should be back at this point. But I have some major questions about Arizona on the defensive side of the ball. And when I look at it, when you have an offense that's as potent as the Chargers, it's a recipe for disaster. So I'll take them to beat the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm actually going to have them split with Vegas. I think Vegas is going to be better than. I don't know if they're going to be better than the Chargers. I'm not going to predict that, but they're going to be pretty good. I'll have Las Vegas actually win this game, and I'll have them drop down to 10-2, heading into their 2-game homestand where they go. Miami comes to town, and then Tennessee comes to town. Derrick Henry, Tua, Tyreek Hill. How do you see that one shaking out? Those 2 games.
Well, I think they can beat Miami. I think they beat Miami. My thing is Tennessee. You know what I think? I'm going to go lock them in for 2 wins. I think they can beat Tennessee as well. I got concerns about Tennessee in the passing game for me. I think it's going to be a lot of Derrick Henry, and I know TJ, if he's up here, he's going to be like, man, Derrick Henry, it's going to be hard to tackle him. They're going to not want to tackle him at the end of the ball games. But, like, we've seen teams, like, neutralize Derrick Henry. We saw the Packers neutralize Derrick Henry, a little bit, and force Tannehill to throw the football and force Tannehill to make those decisions. I think the same thing happens, especially at home against the Chargers. I think that they neutralize Derrick Henry, find a way to neutralize him. I mean, let him do whatever he needs to do, but make Tannehill make those decisions on 3rd downs and such. Get him in third and long, 3rd and 5. And make Tannehill make those decisions, and I think the Chargers will be in a good spot. So right now I got them at 12 wins.
This might be Tennessee must be the most depleted wide receiving core in an offseason in a long time. I mean, you go from AJ Brown and Julio Jones to I don't know who their starting wide receiver is right now off the top of my head. I think they beat Miami. I think that game could be very high scoring, could be very interesting to watch. But I think they beat Miami, and I also think they beat Tennessee as well. I have them at 11 wins, 11-3, 11-2. Yeah, 11-2. Heading into down the stretch where I have them, they could go to a road game in Indianapolis, semi home game against the Rams, and then they go 2 Mile High, take on the Denver Broncos. For this 3-game stretch of their season, how do you see them finishing out the year?
Ooh, man.
This final stretch down the stretch of their season is going to be tough.
It's brutal. Especially those last 3 games, and they're trying to at least tack on an insurance. In my opinion, it's like baseball, right? When you're up 1 run or so, and you're trying to tack on 1 or 2 more runs, just insurance runs to bring a closer in, and kind of win you the ball game. I think 12 wins does get them into the playoffs. I'm gonna have them losing to Indy. Man, I'm gonna have them losing to Indy. I think they lose to Indy.
I agree with you on that. I think Jonathan Taylor might be too much.
It's like a pick'em game, man. It's like, it's a toss-up game. I don't think they could beat the Rams. I think they could beat the Rams, but then in my heart, I just don't think they can at the end of the season. I'm gonna go ahead and give them a victory against the Rams. Giving them 13 wins, and then I'm gonna have them. I had them splitting with Denver. So I got them at 13-4 on the season.
So I have them losing 2 of these 3 games. I have them losing to Indianapolis. I just think that the Indianapolis at home is going to be tough with that offensive line that the Indianapolis Colts have. Matt Ryan's going to have time to find his receivers and make good plays. And then actually, because of like the situation with the Los Angeles Rams, the Los Angeles Chargers, I actually think that that game will feel more like a road game. That Los Angeles Rams versus Chargers. I think there'll be more Ram fans than there will be Chargers fans in that stadium. I'm actually going to have the Rams win that game. I just think that the championship pedigree, the scenario with like that stadium being shared, I think there will be a lot more Rams fans in that stadium. And then I think they finally wrap up the season. I think they beat Denver. I have them sweeping Denver. I'm going to stick by it. That's the recommendation I did yesterday. I'm going to have them beating Denver. I have them finishing the season 13-4, and they're for sure in the hunt for probably not the bye week because I had Buffalo going like 16-1. I had Buffalo losing the first game of the season and sweeping the rest of their schedule. But they're for sure like a top 1 or 2, 3 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, 13
they're going to win the AFC West.
13 wins definitely will win you the AFC West. I what did I have Denver at? I had Denver at 12 wins as well, I think yesterday.
11? I think you had 11 wins.
Was it 11 wins? I think I had them at 11 wins. Anyways, 12 wins I think gets you in the playoffs regardless in the AFC. Excuse me. So 13 wins I think will win you the division. So 12 or 13 wins, it doesn't matter. They're in the playoffs. I mean, it matters for seeding purposes, obviously, but I still think they're going to play in that wild card. They're going to play in that wild card game in the first, the first round of the playoffs anyway. So really, in my opinion, it all depends on if they're going to play at home or if they're going to play on the road. So I got them at 13 wins, 13-4. I'll stick by that. So
yep, 100% agree with you on that. I got 13-4. I think they do have a difficult schedule down the stretch, but as long as we see the growth from Brandon Allen and Justin Herbert that we need to see out of those 2 guys, this is going to be a team that's the top of the AFC next season.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that, man.
So let us know down in the comment section what you think the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be this season. Let me give predictions of their record. I'm David Huppin right there, CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera. Tomorrow, we are going to be doing the Raider show. So you don't want to miss that content. Sunday, we're going to bring Bray Breck at the crossover, talk a little bit about the stuff that's been going on in Summer League, including talk about Chet Holmgren and getting manhandled by Kenny Lofton Jr. yesterday or the day before. you got manhandled so bad.
Body by the big boy. You always got one of those big boys that's on a high school basketball team.
Yeah,
that's like a lineman on his football team, and he's like playing power forward or center for his basketball team. That's what Kenny Lofton reminds me of. And the kid actually has some wiggle. He's got a 3-point shot, a step back. Man, I wasn't expecting that. And they used to be teammates on Team USA, so. Yeah, we'll get into that.
That guy bullied Chet Holmgren so bad he didn't even play the next night.
He was like, "Man, I gotta take the night off." But no, I'm pretty sure you're gonna look up because that's a concern that we were talking about. Some of these players shouldn't be playing in summer league, like Josh Giddey. I mean, he looks like he's on another level.
Yeah.
And he's dropping triple doubles. He's dunking over people. I mean, he doesn't need to be out there in summer league. I think you said you were going to research on some of these contracts to see if they kind of get some type of bonus
or if it's required in the deal. So we're gonna take a look at that stuff. I've been David Huppin right there. Is Mr. Israel Rivera, CEO of Prime Sports World, and Mr. Rivera. What do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. 7 days a week, bringing the heat, man.
Absolutely. And we will see you guys tomorrow when we break down those Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders.
Peace out, brother. Have a good day.